Hello and welcome to another episode of the Epic Kate podcast. This one is a little bit even more especially epic because it is with my friend Catana, and it's talking about all the things that are super cool that I love to listen to and talk about, like alien encounters, viewings, near-death experiences, dreams. Oh gosh, so much cool stuff. It's so deep and it's so meaningful and special and just stinking, rotten, fascinating. And yeah, this conversation is a lot chattier and I don't know. It's because me and Catana are such good friends. So it's got that more fun, buzzy vibe to it than some of my more chill, peaceful conversations. I don't know, but it's all epic. You know that if you're here, especially if you're a returning champion. Anywho, let's jump in. Hello, Catana!
Hi, Katie.
So cool to have you here. I've been looking forward to this conversation. So we are talking about your alien experiences, but I have a few kind of questions I want to ask before we jump into it. Kind of basic questions, but the first one that I think will be helpful for people listening to tell if this is for them is this going to be scary?
Ooh, well, that's defined differently by a lot of different
That's true.
people.
That's true.
So, yes, it could be.
Mm.
And
Some people like to be scared.
some people, it's the right time of year.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
real close to Halloween.
This will
So,
not be going up in the next few days, but
um, yeah, no, yes and no.
okay.
It depends on the person.
Yeah. And
But it
another
wasn't
kind
a scary experience for me.
okay.
So, it's not coming from a scary place.
Okay, cool. And another kind of basic question that I wanted to ask is like how do you define aliens? What are they?
Alien for me when it's brought up because of what the label has been for so long is, a being that we do not identify with as is human and generally does not live on the same planet we do, except for that newer groups of people are more than saying that there's evidence of it, of them being amongst us. So I won't discredit that, but I won't say that I fully know that for sure.
Mm. So that's not been your experience of actually knowing people like beings in disguise or whatnot.
I've had my question. There's been some people that I've been near, and I can actually say that it's, less than a dozen people. So that's a lot of people in a lifetime. And I've been all over the country, and, for you, it'd be even more because you've been around the world. But um, I've been around a lot of people, and it hasn't been a lot of them, but there are some that when you've had different experiences, you kind of sit back and go, I
Mm.
want.
I've listened to a lot of alien podcasts. And something that was really interesting is that in some, they say that there are beings who are able to project their consciousness into kind of mechanical suits. So that because like space sickness is real, like if they were to send their actual bodies here, they could get really, really sick, or we could get really, really sick.
Mhm.
And another thing is that people have just felt absolutely pit of their stomach wrong. Like the wrongness of it just makes them want to scream and scream, even when they know they're safe and know that it's a contained experience and introduction. It's just wrong.
Yeah, that's not me. I didn't
Well,
definitely
that's
didn't feel the it's wrong. I was more drawn to
mm.
it more.
But then
So
again,
if
there could be billions of races out there of higher vibration, good of humanity, and lower vibration, bad guys or whatnot. Who knows?
I'll say for me, the basis of it of my experiences and their reality is that I live by the why wouldn't there be other beings in our galaxies, our universes? I just find it difficult to believe that we're it.
How boring would that be, man?
We
All
wouldn't
right.
be having this conversation.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would love to hear when's the first time that you had an otherworldly experience?
I was 9 and I was in Florida, and my uncle came to our house where we were at. I was staying with my great grandparents because I'm from California. So I had gone there for that summer. So it was my first time going there. And he came to the house about probably around 7:30 at night. And we were sitting and watching TV, and he says, "Come back and meet me at the couch," because he knew I was going to go in and go to bed. But he said, "I'll wake you up, come back here and be here at this time, and I'll show you something special." And I he came and got me, and we went into the little TV room area, and we were watching out the back window and this big picture window, and a UFO did come down, and it was probably about 100 feet away from us. And I could see two grays, what they refer to as grays, the classic, you know, almond shaped head with the almond eyes. And the interesting thing for me, because I sat there and then I'm looking around the room, and I would look back just to see if, I was aware. I was pretty aware at that age of different things that people were thinking about already. And I'm an open-minded person, and I'm looking back again, and there's definite connection. And that was what was interesting to me, was that I wanted to like go toward them, go have a conversation with them, is what I remember. And a little bit later, they left, and that was that full-on experience right there. Of course, when I started telling people, they're like, "You don't want to tell other people this, they're gonna think you're crazy."
Yeah. Not it's kind of like what I've heard about the Appalachians, Appalachia area is like if anybody calls your name, no they didn't. If you see anything, no you didn't. Like don't talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So this was a regular occurrence that he could just set his clock by it, like this is the time when they come, or what was his
I,
connection?
I never got to experience that again because my father's family, which are the people I was visiting, they had him kind of off to himself. He did have some issues with alcohol. On that same note, he was very cognizant and clean when I was talking with him. He was at a facility and such. I always wondered that connection myself, and he was different than everybody else in the family. So I often wonder, was there some other connection there? But he knew this. So he must have had this experience before that I did get out of it,
Mm.
and um, it gets so much crazier from there.
um, that's my very professional podcaster host laugh.
I love it.
So what was the next situation?
The next situation would be when uh one of my mother's neighbors was looking at the stars one night, and it was a summer night, and he had a big telescope. They could see a lot better than the average telescope. It was pretty fancy, and he let me look through it. And I'm looking at all the different stars and everything that I can get my eyes fixed on and stuff like that, and even the moon, and that's always pretty fascinating. And then something came into the frame from the right, and it was like it was like a light. And it stayed there, and then it would move, and it would move in geometrical ways that nothing else can. And so I'm tracking this thing all over the sky, and apparently they saw me doing this. They're like, "What are the stars moving on you?" And I said, "Well, I've got something I'm tracking." So, I told them I was doing it. And then I started to see a set of light rings emanating from it, coming down toward me. And I was just fascinated with this. And then it was gone.
Did you get any kind of feeling from it, like they were excuse me? Did you get a kind of feeling from it, like they were putting on a show for you or reaching out to you kind of like psychically or something?
I did have that thought. So I did ask, in my mind, I'm thinking, are you guys noticing that I'm noticing you? Is this one of those moments where, we do it as strangers on the street all the time, where we might notice somebody and then we notice them. It's one of the stranger moments. And so it was kind of like that. It was like, whoa, wow.
And did
I
that grace that in the first situation, did you make eye contact? Did they see you?
No, I didn't see anything that large.
Oh, okay.
I could make out that this was something moving and that there was light coming from it, but that was and it
Okay.
was moving in ways nothing else does.
So, did you have a situation where you did see something like in a more face to face way?
Just the one in Florida. That's as close as I got. And I've drawn the picture many times. So the face size to me would be about the size that yours is right now to me. It may be a
Okay.
little smaller on the screen, but it's similar, so it was close enough that I can make out features.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, can you describe the features?
The almond shaped eyes, the black, and there's a little narrower nose, and it kind of reminds me of a humpback whale, not set on nostrils like on the back of a humpback whale. When you look at those, that's what it reminds me of, but it's much smaller than like our nose.
Mm.
And the the skin is more of that, when meat hasn't been colored and it's still kind of got that gray look to it. It's kind of like that, more of somebody who doesn't have the melatonin in their skin. Some of their features are elongated, and I've seen people that have, well, my husband, for example, has swan neck deformity in his hands. And when I look at them, I see that type of hand that you see on
Mm.
the alien. And it fascinates me because, of course, then there's that, well, how different really are they, other than that they don't live here with us now? And yet I can even point to the biblical explanations, but even all the way back to, the Egyptians and the hieroglyphs, and further back on caves where they documented these things.
So, what feeling did you get from that situation?
I got friendliness. I've always felt that there's a connection that we're missing,
Mm.
but that it's a friendly connection. I won't say, well, I guess it would be described as unconditional love. You're not high, you're not low. It's that that you're safe in that presence. So for me, I guess, yeah, coming back to what you had asked me earlier, it I always felt safe in their presence and always
Mm.
wanted to go toward them. And when I was in the Psychic Institute, I found out why that connection is so strong.
Oh,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you a reincarnated alien?
No, but apparently in previous lives that I did spend time with aliens learning something that I was to bring back to teach other people. So that would explain why I don't feel threatened.
Hmm.
That
So
would make sense.
what is have you had any other experiences, like maybe in an altered consciousness of contact? Like astral projection or kind of thing or
Yeah, I've actually in I was in a very heavy duty meditative state when I had a contact. As a matter of fact, I think I did a doodle of it somewhere. Um, I had contact with Grays. There were three of them. And I actually want to say it was when I did ancestral healing back around my birth, because my birth was a traumatic birth.
mm,
So that I needed to do some healing with that. And I think it came up in that time, which would also be very interesting, given that I was told the connection would be through reincarnation. That would be a moment where that would have come through. So whether it was my current memory or a past memory coming through, it very much was there.
and from what I've heard, it time is the illusion anyway, so it's like it's all happening at the same time. And
And there are times that because I do believe in time ripples or time tears, or um it's a little bit more of a stretch for me with the Matrix idea,
yeah,
but
but
I can understand where the concept comes from.
but like the difference between ghosts and like moments of time that just kind of keep happening over and over again in certain places.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they refer to as the imprint that the souls leave behind from habit. So things that we do as a habitual thing, we can actually leave the imprint that somebody will see. Some people are tuned into it and some people aren't, and
Yeah.
that's okay. But it's not actually a ghost. You're actually seeing that imprint in time, which to me only further solidifies time and the way that time travels, and that there's layers and we're so much more complex. I know people that teach people to be in touch with their future selves as much
Yeah.
as with their past selves. So, it's pretty intriguing. And yes, I have had moments where I know I was doing one thing and an hour to 3 hours later, I'm doing something else and have no concept of what happened in between. I
Wow.
literally sat down to watch a movie, and the next thing I know, I'm in my kitchen doing something else, and it's 3 hours later.
Huh.
But I can't tell you how I got from point A to point B.
So I want to go back to that heavy meditation conversation with the beings. What? Tell me everything.
Oh, I don't remember anything being said. It was more of you don't communicate. Okay, that I guess that would be an important factor, is that there was no communication by words. Everything was telecommunication. So you're telekinetically speaking with each other. You understand, kind of like with us having eye contact, and you can nod, and there's certain things that we can do that are just cues, but apparently that's part of that nonverbal communication that a lot of people are becoming more aware of,
Hmm.
actually using.
So how did it feel then? Did you feel like there was any communication given that you could put into words?
that it was going to be okay. That because it was at the time that I was coming into that my soul was coming into the body during birth, because that was the meditation I was in that healing space where somebody was guiding me through healing the traumatic birth. But my experience I was having for me on this side of it was coming back to the things that in fact, that was the first time I saw a Scottish tartan with me. And I found out afterward that I was 31% Scottish. So all these puzzle pieces are coming together. And a lot of what I've seen, like that communication with them, they were looking at me and they were touching me, and very much like a small package. That I definitely got that I was smaller than them. So whether I was in the baby form or whatever form, I was at that moment, either I was laying down, sitting down, or I was that much smaller.
So, do you think that they were a part of that healing journey, like as kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Extraterrestrial energetic surgeons patching you up, kinda?
Yeah, I think in their own way that was part of the healing, was going, everything is, you're okay. Everything's been okay, and you will be okay going forward. That's really what I took away from it.
I listened to a podcast where this lady was sharing about how she traveled the stars on a spaceship, and she was a part of the energetic healing crew, and they would go find people to go help. And
I I'm intrigued by those because mine have been more, so I have had others. Mine are always, I'm already there with them. I see the meetings, we have these conversations. For me, it's the seeing the travel coming back and some of the technical challenges that came with that. So I'm seeing the from there coming back here, which is an interesting thing when you think about that. So I'm starting there with them in what I'm seeing happen. And the real world connection was when I tested off the charts to be a physicist. My college, I was in my final year with my BA degree, and I had gotten testing for being able to use a quiet space for testing, and it had to do with, I was legally deaf until I was 13, and it just kind of messed up my whole groove. If I hear people talking, I can't focus. And there was a whole slew of tests that I had to go through in order to qualify through the disability center. Well, in that they give you an IQ test, and she said if you weren't in your final semester of your art degree, we would put you in physics program. You are off the charts. And I was like, oh boy, today I'm glad I didn't go there. Not that I'm saying I love science and I don't want to ever lose that love for it. I have taken science tests. I have avoided taking science. And the one science teacher I had told me girls don't do that. Girls don't do science. So I was thwarted everywhere I went, even though I came up with all these different things that I later found out that I knew stuff that I really had no reason to know. And I'm wondering if these are those connections, because I can do, it's, for instance, math. I had a heart attack during my semester when I was taking college algebra. And I had already had to put it off for my ex-husband's vehicle accident. So I was, I had to take it. It wasn't an option. And because I was getting student loans. So I took the class, and then I had a heart attack and I was out for 3 weeks. But I passed. I can see numbers I see the answers. They're highlighted. They just come. It's the same way when somebody gives me I can tell you all about quasars and things. I can give you molecular structures. I can pass science tests that they have no reason to pass. You could look at my educational history and go, where does it come from? So, and I have a science experiment of my own that's to extract moisture from arid climate with found objects. Where'd that come from? I know the dew. I just automatically knew the dew point and all these things, and that goes there, and this comes here, and that comes in that way, and I've got this thing, and I found out that somebody else already did this hypothesis and came up with a determination that I want. So these are all things, and I talk about this only because for me, this being around aliens would be the reason I would know this stuff.
Mm. So, why do you think that you've had this knowledge implanted? I mean, I can kind of answer that for the science experiment because it's something that can literally be useful for helping people get liquid, right? But the math stuff and other things, like, why do you think that that's happened?
It might just be a byproduct of whatever,
Like you
whatever.
kind of absorb knowledge just from being in the vicinity of them, whether it's physical or astral.
Well, I learned that I have actually done lots of astral projections, and it completely made sense once they explained it to me. I have also had the experience of waking up completely paralyzed, unable to speak or move. The only thing I was doing was breathing, and my machine, my body was not there. And my children needed to get to school. I was the only one home at the time. My ex-husband had not come in from his night shift at work yet. And my kids are like, what do we do? Do we call 911? And I'm trying to scream from the inside, no, don't call 911. But I couldn't move, I couldn't speak or anything. And those are moments that it's like, okay, so how did I get stuck there? And knowing what I know now, I just look at everything, and having psychics and people doing past life readings on me and telling me that, yeah, you've spent time with aliens, and it's a matter of what it is that you're to bring back. It could be something as simple as what I mentioned, because if it's true, then those things that we would otherwise be putting into our environment because they're garbage would become things that would help people survive.
Mm. I know that there's a big connection too between people who've had really rough childhoods, trauma, near death in general, and having this contact. And you tick all those boxes. You
I
could
was just,
yeah, win the trophies for most scarred childhood and most times of being near death. Hey.
yeah, I hope in some ways, I hope not. In other ways, maybe so, because I wouldn't want that for anybody.
I mean,
So
I chuckle in a way, but not in a genuine way because yeah. So
it,
have you in any of your near death experiences, have you had contact?
no, the only contact I had was with the other side, family members,
Family
two of them.
members.
Both of them had already passed, and I was with them, and they I pointed out that the sun was setting and it looked really pretty because we were right on the bay, and they said, "Oh, it's time to go." So they turned to walk away, and I went to walk with them, and they stopped me and said, "No, it's not your turn. You can't
Mhm.
go." And I was like, "But I want to go." And they said, "No, you've got to stay."
A question came to me is how come you aren't scared of what people would think? You know, the whole we don't talk about that. They'll think you're cuckoo bananas. They won't respect you. Um, how are you not scared to share about your experiences?
Because there are plenty of other people that do have these experiences. If I was the only one having them, then I might be a little bit concerned about saying anything, because then it would be, hmm, okay, something happened to my bathwater. But otherwise, no, I have talked to experts that research alien encounters. Um, I've talked with people who've had the alien encounters besides myself. I've seen the pictures, I've watched the videos, and it's funny enough, you could always tell the videos that are questionable. And to me, anyway, as a trained photographer, and I would imagine as a videographer, that kind of stands out to you as well, where you can see something might be manipulated. There are plenty of them though that are just really legit. I think it's like, wow, okay, cool. I caught this moment. Check this out. And the governments have wanted to come forth, but and this is coming from me, um, they're they don't like to bring forth anything about aliens because then there's a conflict with religion.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
that would
remember seeing the video. Was it the country Spain that brought out the skeletons of some aliens? Did you
I
see
think so.
that?
I haven't seen that one, but I've seen so many different programs. They kind of all overlap. But
Mm,
it's good because it means that more than one group of people are coming to the same conclusions. And that's what you want. You want
yeah.
people to go, okay, yeah, check this out. It really has been a part of things.
There's a lot of people who say too that like Hollywood has been preparing people for things for a long time through different ways, and so many people are like, it really was like in that movie. Um, was it? I haven't seen it. Avatar. People are like, it really. When I was there, it really was like that. Like somebody who made this experienced the same thing I did.
Oh, that's interesting. I have not seen that movie either.
Yeah, I'm like, isn't it like 82 hours long? Like, I don't want to. So
Yeah.
what is something that is like, oh, what's something that you really have missed being able to share about?
Missed being able to share about.
Yeah, like something that you'd be like, if we finish this, like, oh no, I didn't share about that, but that was really important.
No, I think that, well, there were some moments when I was living in Nevada that there were some people thinking, wait a minute, because there was this medical mix up, and it turned out to had to be a mix up. And when I got a second, it was an x-ray. And this is kind of a scary moment, but it's a funny moment at the same time because some people were like, wait a minute, are you like alien? What happened? I went to the emergency room and I was having not only my breathing issue, but I was having AFib at the same time. So they moved me from one area to the cardiac emergency room area. And they went to get a chest x-ray because sometimes when you're having breathing and your heart's being funky, sometimes it's pulmonary embolism. So they always check for that. Only when they came back, they walk in and they're scratching their head and they walk away. They did this about 3 or 4 times before I finally stopped them and said, what are you doing? And I said, we don't understand. You said you've never had open heart surgery. And I said, no, I've never had open heart surgery. I mean, you guys see the gown, there's no scars here. And they go, but you have sternotomy wires. And I said, what? And they brought in my x-ray and it shows sternotomy wires are after they cut your chest open to get open heart surgery. They use these wires to wire you back together. And so here's this x-ray with my name on it. And it shows these wires. But I have no scars. So everybody's going, huh? And of course, now I am too going, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Did
How
they
is
do
that?
it? Did they do another scan?
No, but here's the scary part. Think about the other person who got my x-ray. And how did that come up on mine? I mean, how did I get somebody else's with my name on it? That's even
Yeah.
more bizarre.
So
Did
you
they
so
act up? I mean, it's
so it has to be a mistake, or is it possible that aliens did some surgery on you?
no, because later on with my pulmonary doctor, um, we did a x-ray and I held my breath until they finally brought it out and said, everything's good. And I said, I just have to ask you, can I take a quick look at it while it's on the computer? Because I wanted to know right away. And it was my normal.
Oh, okay.
I was like, okay, so that was, but I'll tell you, there was those moments I was thinking, because, of those dreams that I had where I was with them. I did see them in a clinical setting a couple of times, but I wasn't the one they were working on. So I
Mm.
don't know.
Yeah, and also, why would aliens have the same kind of wires and whatnot? Wouldn't they just use their little Star Trek phaser or whatever thing and just go boop 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 and you're all done?
I can imagine, and
Not phaser, the Star Trek thing. You know what I mean?
yes, I do, the scanner.
Yeah.
So there are still a lot of people that joke that I'm part alien because I have body parts on the inside that will disappear and show up in another location and then show up back again in that location.
And do you have a paper trail for this to like prove this to
I
people?
have, yes, I do.
Awesome.
I do. And it died the first time I read through my records and went, whoa, wait, huh? It's like, oh, there's no appendix. And I'm like, I've never had it out. Where did it go?
You
You
should
know?
take this paper trail and put it on multiple different hard drives and put one in a security box in a post office. Just like, didn't the Men in Black steal some of your science, weird
They
body
took all of
science
my
related stuff?
they took all my records from my pediatrician from birth through the age of 17.
And it was the Men in Black, wasn't it?
Well, they were in suits. I presume that they were. I know that much. The doctor told me because I saw him, I was 20. So it wasn't that far after. The records would have still been available to me. I said, I asked him, he was working at the emergency room. I said, can you give me those records? And he said, no, only because some guys came and took your records. Some guys in suits showed up and they took your records away. And I'm like, huh? I mean, as an adult living in Reno with my ex-husband and my children, it was probably around 2012. And that was when I was talking to the doctor who is an immune, well, he was supposed to be doing a allergy test for me. And they couldn't get the machine to work. If as soon as I touched it, it stopped working. And I mean, I stepped 4 feet away and it would work. I'd step up to it, it stopped working. And they even had me go out of the room. They did it to other people. They brought me back, it stopped working. They were like, okay, fine. We're not doing that. So there's that. And I still have that experience. My husband's been with me when I've had people's computers completely go bye-bye on them. And they're just like, what's going on? And I'm like, let me step out. And as soon as I step out and get away from it, it comes back to life.
Phew.
It's,
Can you imagine if
yeah.
it was just like completely broke you? That would be an expensive.
Oh, I made an x-ray technician tell me to never come back to his facility because they were going to put me in to it had to do with my toe back in Tennessee when I got a major staph infection in my toe. They were going to cut it off. They were talking about cutting it off. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not going there. But they went to take an x-ray of my toe and the x-ray machine shut down. And he goes, I've been here 34 years. It's never done this ever. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there quiet. And then he takes the x-rays. We do that. He goes to put them in, because everything's digital now. So it goes into the computer, but you put the trays individually in and you upload them. It's like anything else. You're uploading an image. Two of them merged together. So he kept so he had to take the pictures again. He goes, that's not even possible. I put them in as two different individual files. And the x-rays merged together. So he had to retake it. And by the time this was over with, he's like, yeah, do me a favor. Don't, if you have a trouble, just go to the one down the road.
Why do you think that happened?
I I have had a lot of nuclear medicine, not to mention I've got this weird immune system that the government gave me. And, I make watches stop. Everything from $1 watch to a $500 watch. They just stop. I can't, the only thing that's been able to keep going, but still has some quirky things happen, is my Apple Watch. But it's electric, so it makes sense. It's like, oh, we're going to feed off of you. Everything else stops. And I have shut it down.
How did it
But
feel to find other people that had the same kind of weirdness that you have?
oh, it's just validating, and then it's like, you know, people don't know I don't know what Limburger cheese tastes like. I've never experienced it. So I understand people that have not had experiences with aliens and maybe some thought processes that they grew up with that were taught to them that prevents them from being able to believe in it. I get that. And I know that it does exist. I know what I experienced was real, and I know that, for the other people, their experiences were real. And some people never recovered from their experiences. So
Mm. So, do you think that you have gotten some kind of superpowers from these experiences and these connections?
I don't know if I would call them superpowers because I do believe everybody has all of this in them. Everybody has the capabilities. It's just because it's how you become aware, or when you become aware, that you're able to tap into them. And I think it's things like meditation and astral projection, lucid dreaming, those things. And I do very much have those. I have premonitions that come to me in my dreams. So, and I know the difference now between the astral projections and the premonitions. And, the brain is an untapped source of power. They've admitted they still only understand about 10% of the human brain. So, I think sometimes we just get areas lit off by different information, and it gives us the ability to tap into whatever those magical gifts are that are there.
Mm. So it's like you have never heard of these concepts before, and then suddenly you hear them, and it just wakes something up inside, and it's like that that's
Mhm.
that's for me.
Yeah. And I've found where I thought, okay, well, I came up with something that everybody around me never heard before. And then give it a day. For me, that doesn't take very long before I find somebody else that's like, I had that thought too. Oh, of course you did. So much for originality. But I do believe that those things we get tapped into as our awareness grows. So
Mm.
each thing brings new experiences to us as our bodies find need for them.
Yeah,
But
as your
through those experiences, because obviously those lit off the little science mind in me, because it certainly wasn't my teachers. They were very much not into having girls speak up or speak out about science.
but it seems like that was kind of the universe, whatever's way of like, stick it to the man. We're gonna pump this girl full up with stuff that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but yes. I like that.
Because you humans and your weird obsession with genitalia, come on, people are people. Aliens are definitely not misogynistic or transphobes, right?
I believe that they're part of the unconditional love energy. I do. That's how I feel about it. And again, that's just my experience. So, and I can understand how their appearance can be off-putting to some people. And my journey in life has been pretty ugly by definition. So that wasn't one of the more scarier moments.
I remembered the thing that I wanted to say. I wanted to ask, why do you think that the existence of aliens threatens religion so much?
Because then it blasts their story of the origin of a single creator,
Mm.
particularly theirs. There's one image that they have chosen to portray Jesus as, for example,
Yeah.
and we
A
all know
middle,
what
uh,
world this
uh,
all started from.
yeah, an early 30s white man, whilst God is a 70-ish bearded white man, or white bearded.
Yeah,
Which like
it,
goes to like Thor and not Thor, like Odin. It like goes back to other beliefs, and it's just all recycled down to each culture to suit their needs.
yeah, that's why I don't feel like it's a right or wrong issue. It's just a different perception, just a different way of thinking about something.
Mm.
And I think, human beings get caught up in what's right or wrong, and somehow that the wrong means it's a threat. Being different doesn't mean it's a threat. It's just different.
Mm. Oh yeah, the need to conform, to fit in, to assimilate.
Just because some people realize that you're an American living in Sweden, that would terrify them. Just the absolute thought. I've had people say it. They don't understand. Aren't you afraid of dying? And aren't you afraid of, because people, especially now, want to leave the United States more than ever. And I've watched people actually cry and freak out at their family members being in another country, like they're just gonna be murdered in effigy or something. I don't know.
I feel a heck of a lot safer in Sweden than I do in the States, man.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Yeah. Um, that's a really interesting thing. It threatens the idea of their creator when, like, well, what if it is the same creator? Like that decided to have a lot of fun making a lot of different universes and dimensions and people and creatures. Like, some people just have a thinner veil around them to like be aware of time being timey-wimey and not being alone here.
And I look at it too as, and this is coming from me in my opinion, but religion was a human way of taking control. So
Mm,
it's that control.
yeah. Yeah. So what would I have never been able to astral project, lucid dream. I find it just really frustrating. Like people are like, just do this, anything. I can't see auras. I can't. I've never seen anything cool. Um, how can for people that would like to connect with beyond their bodies and stuff? What can they do?
Well, there's a lot of YouTube videos that
I've listened to so many
people
stinking guided meditations.
no, these are the experts that talk about people's experiences and what they look like in a way that might resonate with you, because I think it's something that gets unlocked. Because for instance, for me, my first real astral projection dream was flying.
Ooh.
And in the beginning, the first time I tried to fly, I couldn't fly. And I was like, why can't I fly? And I was watching some of the other people, man, they're just, but there were different levels. When I think back to it, it's like, wow, this is cool. But I remember taking off the first time, but I always have to run and jump. And in one of my more recent ones, I actually didn't have to run. I was able to just lift off and go. And so I've been able to develop my ability to fly better. And I freaking love it. Yeah. So it's things like that. So, just extremely vivid moments where you can be in, uh, it came to mind. Okay. The pyramids, you know, and you can do that in your lucid dreams. You can astral project yourself through the cosmos. There are times that I know that now I can connect that were like mini astral projections, but I have a lot of lucid dreams where they're, you know, quite detailing and quite message bearing. So
So
I've just heard.
can you choose where to go? Could you fly through the top of your ceiling and across the ocean and come visit my family?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't learned it again. Over time, I've been able to control what I'm doing more. It's a practice like anything else.
Mm.
Practice, because there seems, from what I'm getting from other people, some people will actually meditate on it before allowing themselves to go into it.
Mm.
So they'll go from meditation to that lucid dream.
Do you have that awareness of a silver cord?
As far as a silver cord, no, I'm not aware of a silver cord, but I do grounding, and I was trained at my psychic institute how to do a particular grounding. So there's always a cord from me to the center of the earth.
Mm.
So when we speak about cords, that's what I see, that I'm always connected in some way to my grounding place.
So that you can find your way back to your body.
Yeah, I hope so now. I will really don't want to do that, you know, sleep paralysis thing again. That would be
Is
terrible.
that what that was? That you're
Yeah, they didn't know what it was because my ex-husband walked through the door just in time to stop my kids from calling 911. I couldn't talk and couldn't respond, but my eyes were open, so they knew I was alive. I mean, I was breathing. He took the kids to school, took me to the emergency room, and for the next 8 hours ran every test under the sun and could not figure it out. They said, I guess it's viral arthritis that made your body stop. I don't know. That was how they had to leave it because they gave me a muscle relaxer, and by about 8 o'clock that night, I was doing much better. So 12 hours later, I was still recovering. And then the funny and not so funny part of that is 2 days later, I got chicken pox.
Huh.
And my chicken pox were the size of dimes.
Wow. So
They
so your memory before losing your body was of a kind of lucid dream and just not being connected to your body, or were you floating around?
I have tried to recall what I know that I was dreaming because I remember consciously coming back to my body, but the body wasn't working yet. So obviously my brain got there. My brain arrived before the rest of the energy came with it.
Wow. So it makes me think about how I've heard that if people try to do things that are too advanced, it can like be seriously dangerous. It's like
Mhm.
wanting their third eye to open. If that's opening all the way before you're really ready, you can become disconnected from reality and you can, or if other things happen, you can have a stroke. Like if things are
Yeah,
going too intense.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard of people not making it back from when they leave their body like that. And it makes me, of course, then my curious mind is like, well, then is their soul just trapped in this like limbo picture, Beetlejuice with the room for the dead for the dead, or yeah, the All Souls room, just being stuck somewhere,
Oh,
and
that
thinking
makes
about
me cold. I don't like that.
it's just interesting to think about. And yeah, I vaguely recall coming in to knowing that because I could hear my kids. So I was coming in to the body, and that was very interesting.
Mm. So, what would you say to people listening who are maybe kind of intimidated by all this kind of thing, like for 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 grounding, for being safe? What advice would you give for that?
That what's meant for you, you'll experience, and what's not meant for you, you really won't need to
Mm.
worry about.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Like maybe so you're saying that you were meant to experience that paralysis and take a
Yeah,
lesson from it. What do you think was the lesson you were meant to take from it?
well, one, we take our body for granted,
Oh.
and when your conscious being, when your soul is aware and the body hasn't caught up with it, it it's a reminder that there could come a time anytime when that's not going to be there for you.
Mm.
The presence, being in that present space and appreciating exactly everything that we have. And I look at everything. I look at, like I said, an octopus. To me, I said this earlier with somebody, an octopus has got to be part alien. I am intrigued and fascinated and in love with these creatures. They can immediately change into their environment. They become it. They can fit in a jar. They can come out of that jar. They can unscrew the lid after it's been screwed on with them in it. These things, and they take shape, and yet they even have a relationship. Oh my gosh, they punch fish that don't cooperate with them. I just learned that. And I had to bring that up because that just tickled me even more. I had to share that with a bunch of people. He's swimming along, they have a relationship. The fish help them with hunting. And when the fish are perceived as being lazy, the octopus actually reaches out, goes,
Makes me think
touches-
of how dolphins use pufferfish to get high. They're like, ooh, what a buzz. Oh man.
I know. On all serious notes, you know, the only thing I could say is if you have an open heart and an open mind, that most things will be a little more comforting.
Yeah.
It's just something else to be curious about.
I like that. It's a much more simple way than to have a fearful mindset, because it honestly seems to me that, I mean, it not just seems to me. I've heard it from a lot of other places that what you simmer in is what happens to you. If you're like, oh, I sure hope I don't see a scary ghost. I mean, it's basically inviting a scary apparition into your life. Like, thank you so much for taking this time to share your experiences. I want to say, I believe you. I believe people when they share what happened to them. It doesn't cost anything. It's much just like trust that people saw what they saw and experienced what they did. And so, you listening, if you have a cool story, I believe you. Dang it. Let's just believe each other and expand our perception of what could be possible. Do you have any last things you'd like to say before we close?
Hmm. I just, the only thing I feel called to say at this point is that it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. Oh, I like
Yeah.
that. That's good. We need more of that, especially in this season.
Yes, ma'am.
Recording this the 29th of October, 2024. Yes. All right. Well, you know the way in my conversations. I give hugs. Hugs. Thank you so much, Catana. I'm so happy to have your magical self in my life.
Thank you, Katie. It's always an exciting conversation and a very philosophical one. Always. I love it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And I wait, that's so weird that it says 7 minutes. Oh, because I started at 7 minutes ago. I'm like, we haven't been recording for 7 minutes. Sorry. It's like, am I already experiencing an alien time loss?
Yes, you are. Right, went right through it.
That's my candy. You better back off.
Is that caught on camera?
Caught on camera. Busted.
A cat burglar. Yeah, caught in the act.
What the heck? Oh, there must have been a bag already open. I'm like, this bag is closed. And then there's a half-eaten gummy bear next to
Okay.
it. There must be another one. I don't think you phased this out of here.
It is always wonderful to talk to Catana. What a beautiful, giving person she is. I'm so honored to call her friend, and she does wonderful work with art and helping other people in working through their trauma, their stuff with art. And I've actually got to experience a bit of her process, and it was really neat. It was really interesting because it's for anybody. You don't have to have gone to art school to be a part of this. You can literally take a piece of printer paper and a crayon, and you can immerse yourself in a process where you can work through, you can be transformed by the act of allowing yourself to do art. And yeah, you can, I will include all the links that you can connect with Catana. I've had her actually on another one, my other podcast, Clearing the Creative, and that really was definitely my favorite episode to date, because the breakthrough that we had was powerful. The podcast is called Clearing the Creative, And it's about getting those blocks out of the way, clearing the way so the creative can flourish. And I uncovered some stuff listening to my intuition, listening to that inner wisdom. I helped her come to terms with a thing that she'd been holding against herself and not allowing herself to shine, not allowing herself to make art because she didn't think it was good enough. And she immediately went on to write her children's book and do the watercoloring for it. And it's gorgeous. It's an amazing book. And so yeah, if you want to find that, it's on Amazon. I'll include all the links down below. Check it out. It's so worth it. It's a children's book, but it's for everyone. And was there anything else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, I mean, it goes without saying to check out my website, clearingthecreative.com. These videos, these podcasts, the vlog I'm doing, none of it's, sponsored by anything else. I'm doing this all myself. So the Clearing the Creative is the business that I'm building. So I'm sponsoring myself, I suppose. And what I really see myself doing is being a coach, being a cheerleader, being a friend for a creative process. In the podcast, it's a one shot of giving people advice, digging into inner stuff, finding movement, giving practical advice of how they can move forward right now. But I would love for it to be an ongoing thing, to be that regular support. So that's a little bit of my dream. If you're still here listening to me ramble on, thank you. But I will not continue to ramble. I will say thank you for joining me in another awesome, epic episode of the Epic Kate podcast. It's been a thrill. It's been a joy. Tell me your alien encounters down below in the comments. I believe you, man. I know, it's too boring to be skeptical. Tell me your stuff. I will believe you. And yeah, look out for the next awesome episode.